My name is Caitlin Mills, and I'm the chemistry team lead in the laboratory. This is the triage area. So this is where all of the labs come into the lab. There's the front window where doctors or nurses and patients drop off their samples, or also the pneumatic tube system, which connects us to the rest of the hospital. If it comes down with a lab label, it goes straight onto our front-end processing system, and if it comes down with an EPIC label, a human has to process it first. This instrument does not actually do any testing, it just sets it up to send to the instruments that do the testing. These are our main chemistry analyzers. They are Cobas 6000s, and this is where a vast majority of the chemistry work is done, so your BMPs, CMPs, and they're mostly mirrored, except the far one has girl hormones and the close one has boy hormones, and that's kind of what differentiates the two. This is our Sysmex. This is a hematology. It does the CBCs and white counts. This instrument does an automated it looks at the slides and reviews the slides and takes pictures of all the cells. This is the ACL top, and this is, they run coag on here, PTs, PT&INRs, APTTs, D-dimers. This is where we test procalcitonin.
One machine just for calcitonin.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Special chemistry.
Recount spots. That's the T spots.
This is our send-out department. Anything that we don't do in-house, it gets brought to this little nook.
So my name is Fred Apple, and I am the medical director of the clinical laboratories, but also the clinical and forensic toxicology laboratory. So this area here, it's a very highly automated area where we do the majority of our urine drug testing. This part of the urine drug screen are done by immunoassays. The immunoassays consist of 15 different drug types. For example, amphetamines, opiates, cocaine metabolites, benzodiazepines, PCP, fentanyl, etc. You can see these are high throughput instruments, and we'll get the results within 1 hour. And these results are positive or negative findings. So we're doing this testing 24/7, 7 days a week. And the second half of the drug screen is the mass spectrometry. And this is a mass spectrometer. So while we do immunoassays on urine on that other side of those high throughput, this is more like the instrument does a fingerprint of a drug. This is the one that doesn't look just for single classes of drugs. It looks for prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, looks for drugs of abuse, etc., etc. So the library for identification for a mass spec could be 700-800 drugs and metabolites. Let's say someone had abused fentanyl, shows up in the ER with an opiate type overdose. We would see a positive immunoassay. It comes over here. We would actually identify that positive fentanyl as fentanyl and possibly the norfentanyl metabolite. Somewhat of a confirmation. And this we turn around within 2 to 3 hours of when the sample hits the lab. So overall, for a urine drug screen, we get the early results within an hour and the more definitive extra results by the mass spec within 2 to 3 hours. We in this lab can't pick up a lot of the designer drugs like the synthetic cannabinoids. We don't pick up some of the bath salts. And the reason for that is when you have a mass spec, technically you have one type of separation, the chromatography part, and then the detection part is the mass spectrometry. So to look at many different forms of compounds that have different structures, we pick the column that'll allow us to pick up the general, most wide range and variety of drugs. But I would say 98% of the things we typically see that come through our emergency room, we're going to detect in this laboratory. These two instruments are called gas chromatograms. It's a chromatography, and we can very nicely inject either a blood sample or the headspace. When you heat it up, it has a little volatile. Inject the volatile part of those samples, and we can separate within 5 minutes whether it's ethanol, methanol, isopropanol, acetone, or ethylene glycol. So whenever you do forensic work, whether it's human performance testing for athletes or medical examiner work determining cause of death, or even drug testing in the workplace, the importance of a chain of custody and how samples are handled and processed is just as important as the analytical process itself. So we have this room called an accessioning room. 3 different sets of people handle the specimens, accession them, analyze, and someone else then calibrates all the data before they sign off the report. The last thing about the lab for now is we run a large lead testing services. So whenever there's lead, we have to measure for urine or blood. This is what they call an atomic spectrophotometer.
What video?
Oh, video! Then let's dance!
She's just staring at me. Medicine residents are getting a video tour of the lab so they can see what we do. It's not just a black hole.